Gavin Newsom just f***ed over Californians for the 700th time. California governor who buys hair product from Costco and his CARB coalition have passed a program that will increase gas prices by 65 cents per gallon. In the middle of the night on a Friday night? That's not surprising. He likes to f*** over the people he promised to help in the middle of the night. Sorry, I apologize for that one.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
You would think this man liked oil with how much he uses it in his hair. There's so much oil in his hair, George Bush might invade it. California gas prices are on average $1.47 higher than the national average because of the taxes already. So he said, hold my overpriced wine, that probably isn't as good as Josh, and said, let me raise it more. CARB is the California Air Resource Board. Interesting name, because when I look at Newsom, all he reminds me of is the guy from Step Brothers.
Okay, I haven't had a CARB since 2004.
Mainly because no one likes him, unless you're some weird liberal who drives a Tesla and drinks literal soy replacement shakes, which is all of San Francisco. Because you'd have to be f***ed up on ketamine to constantly walk out of your $8,000 apartment and see how shitty and think, yeah, politicians are really running this well. Newsom is trying to Trump-proof the state, and by raising taxes, this will help curb the fossil fuel consumption of the state. Yeah, because no one can afford to f***ing drive. California Attorney General is already writing briefs to sue the Trump administration, and back in the first Trump administration, Newsom and then Attorney General Javier Gusierra, I should pronounce that correctly, but I'm not gonna, sued the federal government on average every 12 days. 12 days! Who has that much fucking time? Trump lives rent-free in Javier's head, which makes sense because no one can afford rent here. Newsom cares about California residents as much as he cared about the 2020 flu.
Gotcha, bitch.
But Newsom is strategic. This is all being done likely to prepare his run for the 2028 presidential election. Yet a large percentage of Californians who didn't flee to Austin, Texas are getting fed up with the governor's decisions. And after California passed Prop 36 at an overwhelming majority, which would increase consequences for crime and theft, Newsom said he didn't know what state he's living in. What California are you living in? Every grocery store has shampoo locked up like it's Guantanamo Bay, including hair gel, which I know has to be a pain in the ass for your assistant. Ain't no way that guy's walking into a Walgreens himself, because then he'd actually support Prop 36.
Ladies and gentlemen,
The Semi-Daily Night Show with Gary TV, your host, Gary.
Tonight's ceremonial first pitch. And please welcome the President of the United States.
We did it, sir.
just making sure you're paying attention.
RFK Jr. and Cheerios is Cheerios. It should be illegal for a corporation to tell you that their cereal is healthy. When you have to put so much sugar in it to taste good, Hunter Biden will break through your walls like the Kool-Aid Man because it reminds him of a Friday night.
Oh, yeah.
RFK Jr. points to our food system being the reason behind our obesity epidemic. Walk into a Walmart and you will certainly understand. It's like a prairie for people in diabetic socks. RFK wants to get poisonous additives and pesticides out of our food. And to counter this, corporate agricultural businesses and junk food corporations plan to start sponsoring podcasts. Even naming Joe Rogan as a potential podcast they would sponsor. That will go over so well. Now, I don't make any money from this show. That's not a moral decision. I keep asking Russia to give me talking points, but they haven't replied. Since I made fun of dudes who voted for Kamala, I got labeled a propagandist by them. That is, when they watch my videos on their wife's boyfriend's iPad. So in hopes of being able to sell out one day, here is my audition. The Semi-Daily Night Show is partnered with Cheerios. Want to be obese and never fit in your clothes? When you're at a party, do you ask yourself, how do I get less hoes? And do I really need to be able to see my toes? Cheerios, the breakfast you can make with your bros. Eggs and health, that is for my foes. Cheerios, the breakfast everyone knows. And you get 15% off for watching my shows. Legal disclaimer. This isn't a real hashtag ad. No one would risk their brand for this show. This is satire. Cheerios Corporation, please don't come for us and sue us. We can't afford an attorney. We live in California. It's too expensive. Now, advertising may not work in the podcast space for these cereals unless you listen to like Ethan Klein, but these corporations have years of lobbying and experience. These corporations even plan to freeze funding to RFK Jr.'s agencies he manages, which was a strategy they used when they forced regulators to count frozen pizza as a vegetable. I love frozen pizza, but a pepperoni pizza quite literally doesn't have a single vegetable on it. The lobbyists plan to push senators to vote no on a lot of issues RFK Jr. plans to fix and make sure there aren't 50 votes to pass a law, like removing pesticides that you have to wear a jumpsuit that would be safe in Chernobyl to spray on our spinach. RFK Jr. also wants to remove fluoride from water because, well,
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
with the increase of sales on pride flag bumper stickers on Amazon, that might actually be true. Correlation doesn't mean causation, but men can't experience menstruation. At least we all believed that at once. I had to bleep that, but think of the rhyme. RFK Jr. quite literally said, let's reduce the poison we eat, and the government said, psych, we're gonna stop that. Think about that for a second. And the next time you go for seconds when you eat Cheerios, the breakfast everyone knows, and gets 15% off for watching my shows. See, Cheerios, pay me already. I'll never eat your garbage, but Biden is being blamed for the reason Kamala lost. He didn't do anything. Kamala did that shit herself for once.
We did it. We did it, Joe.
Now, if you tend to live in a bubble with similar opinions of the people around you, there was no doubt that your candidate would win. It makes sense. If your circle of friends all believe something, you are more likely to believe it. That's basic geometry. Read an audiobook. For example, if you're at a farmer's market in LA, you thought Kamala would win by a landslide. You also think LA is a good place to live, so you should reevaluate all of your life decisions. You're 0 for 2. Look what LA did to me. I had blue hair when I lived there. For the record, I never voted when I lived in LA. I actually have still never voted. We don't pick sides here. The blame game has started on the left side of the aisle as Kamala lost despite her campaign spending over $1 billion. Only one other person needs that kind of money.
$100 billion. Gentlemen.
That's fitting. And she's still asking for money. The campaign's over, but fancy wine isn't cheap.
Got him!
But with Trump winning, Democrats are finally realizing that campaigning with someone that speaks like me when my fiance asks how much I drank while golfing and I have to lie and just say 3 beers when I had 3 shots before I even got to the first tee. And like my tee off, campaigning with Kamala was a disaster. You have the Pod Save America bros and other outlets leaking that Biden's internal polls had Trump winning the Electoral College by 400 electoral votes. You didn't need a poll to learn that. You just needed to listen to Biden speak instead of lying to people that Biden was fit for office and he just had a stutter. That's not a stutter. That's offensive to people with stutters. You're saying they sound like they have dementia. The left learned people care more about not being able to afford to live instead of allowing Leah Thomas to compete against women. But Kamala's camp knew the woke stances were starting not to work, but it was a little too late. Kamala said she owned a Glock, they had camo merch, they even sent Tim Walz out to hunt, which is a wild move because the last time politicians were in the press for hunting, a misfire happened. After 3.5 years of saying Biden was coherent and just had a stutter, Americans knew the left was lying to them. So they knew the camo merch and center-right pivot was as real as anybody's face with the last name Kardashian, or as real as any celebrity who endorsed Kamala. Pardons or payment when you're on the Diddy list.
So come on everybody, let's get loud.